My personal best Fran time is 2:22. Yesterday, I did it in 6:16. I did it with strict pull-ups because that's what I do now. If I try to go that fast now, first off, I couldn't. And if I tried to, I'd explode. I wouldn't finish the workout. Not only do I have like new performance metrics, I have new ways of training. Like I don't even do kipping pull-ups that much anymore. So I have new things with like the same workout but with strict pull-ups. So I think it makes a lot of sense for this reset. And we know this empirically. Like we don't have the 40 to 45-year-olds competing with 19 to 24-year-olds at the CrossFit Games. Like there's a division for you because capacity is different at that age.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Chasing Excellence. My name is Patrick Cummings. As always, I'm here with Ben Bergeron. Every week on the show, we dedicate some time to exploring how we can live a life of better health and increased fulfillment. We answer your questions about the 5 factors of health, dive deep on living a life of excellence, and explore the strategies and frameworks to help us chase what truly matters. Thank you so much for joining us this week. How you doing, Ben?
Doing good, Patrick. I always enjoy talking to you, so this is a good hour of my day.
Well, thank you. I likewise, and I'm happy to hear it. This week, we've got listener questions about incorporating hypertrophy training with CrossFit, protein supplementation, as well as how to recover better after travel days. Our workout is going to be a listener question about the benefits of quote unquote resetting our PRs as our lives change and our training changes alongside of it. And then we'll wrap up with a note from a listener about a term we used in a recent episode, as well as a couple things that you and I are currently bringing us joy. Ready to go?
Let's rock and roll.
We start each episode with listener questions about the 5 factors of health, those few fundamental behaviors that most positively affect our performance, vitality, and longevity. Those 5 factors: how we eat, how we move, how we think, how we connect, and how we recover. We've got 3 questions, as we always do, from listeners, 1 in our recover bucket, 1 in our eat category. And then the first one here is in our move category. It's from Antoine. He says, I've been doing CrossFit for 8 years now, training 5 times a week. What would be the minimal effective dose of hypertrophy training that I should do in supplementation of CrossFit to add a bit more muscle?
Cool. Yeah. It's a pretty simple, easy question, actually. So I'm assuming, as I'm pausing there, because when you say CrossFit training, that could mean a bunch of different things, and that's where I pause for a second. I'm going to assume that the CrossFit training is similar to what we do with our comp training. We do strength 3 times a week. So let's assume it's that. Let's assume you're training 5 or 6 days a week. 3 of those already include some sort of strength biased type of program. So
back squats, presses, deadlifts.
Yeah. So let's start with that. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you're doing back squat, press, and dead. And then you're following those ones up with a shorter Metcon, and the other days are a little bit longer. Let's just assume it's that.
Got it.
If that is the case, then on those days, the minimal viable dose would be an additional accessory but compound movement, 3 sets of 10 of the same movement pattern. So an example of that would be if you're doing presses on a certain day, you're working up to a couple heavy doubles or something like that, your accessory would be something like 3 sets of 10 push press, 3 sets of 10 press again as back off sets, 3 sets of 10 incline dumbbell, 3 sets of 10 dumbbell bench press, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. If it was your squat day, same thing. You could alternate and go back to, if you're working up to a heavy triple or heavy 5, you could do some back offs, 3 sets of 10 front squat or back squat. You keep it the same, or you could alternate it. You could do goblet squats. You could do Bulgarian split squats. If it's your deadlift day, you could go with Romanian deadlifts. You could do with, essentially, you're getting a compound accessory movement for 3 sets of 10 of the same movement pattern. And that's a minimal viable dose, 3 days a week.
Mm-hmm. Two quick questions. Hypertrophy, for those folks who don't know, what's the easiest and quickest way to know, oh, that's hypertrophy training versus, oh, that's CrossFit or that's something else?
Get huge, bro.
Get huge, bro.
That's what's up. Yeah. Hypertrophy is about getting bigger muscles. So it's not necessarily for the benefit of actually getting stronger. That might sound weird to people. Bigger muscles don't necessarily mean stronger muscles. It's hard to have one without the other. So they're correlated, they're close, but it truly is about bigger muscles. Bigger muscles do have their place in strength training. And CrossFit, the purpose of CrossFit is to maximize power output. So get more work done in less time. That is fitness. So obviously it benefits to be strong to be able to do that. And that's where there is always going to be these overlaps across all these different spectrums of fitness. But when we say hypertrophy, we're talking about get huge, get big, and that generally happens at the moderate rep ranges in that somewhere between 8 to 15. I just picked 10s because it's a really simple one. It's what we all started with when we started doing this training because this training, it's kind of weird, but strength training stemmed out of bodybuilding from the 70s, and people did 3 sets of 10. And that's where all of this came from. And then new stuff came in with powerlifting, Olympic lifting, CrossFit, sports performance, endurance, and all of a sudden then we got the multitude of options. But if we want to do strength, 3 sets of 8 to 15 is about the place we want to go. The other way to kind of think of that is about 30 seconds of time under tension. So if you do 1 second up, a pause for a second, 1 second down, that's 3 seconds per rep. That gives you 30 seconds per set. 30 per seconds of time under tension is kind of that sweet spot for hypertrophy training.
Love it. And then one more defining of terms. You had mentioned it a couple of times. A back off set, I think is how you put it. What exactly is that? So if I'm doing squats, you said, do more squats, or maybe that was not your example.
Yeah.
But
so let's say
in back off.
Yeah. So, this is like kind of traditional strength training type thing. Whether you're an Olympic athlete or a power lifter, they'll work up to a heavy of lower reps, something like a 1, 2, or 3, maybe a 5. And then they'll do back offsets, which is a lower percentage for higher reps. So a perfectly appropriate program would be something like, let's work up to a heavy double, heavy double squat, back squat. And then you could use that same movement pattern, stay with the back squat, but then do 3 sets of 8 after that at about 75% of that double. So you're getting some volume and that hypertrophy work in.
Dig it. Okay, cool. Next question is from Ryan. It's on our eat category. It says, I'm 40 years old. I've been CrossFitting for about 6 years, 5 to 6 times a week, often scaled, generally active otherwise. I'm fitter than the average soccer dad, but pretty average among the CrossFit community. I've heavily focused on eating clean and whole foods based for many years. But about 2 years ago, I got serious about tracking macros and calories. I virtually eliminated alcohol from my life, and the extra 15 or so stubborn pounds I was hanging on to fell off, which has been nice. But what I struggle with is hitting my protein macro target without protein supplements. To my targeted 180 grams of protein per day, I'm taking a whey shake and often a Quest bar. My diet is pretty dialed in otherwise, but the level of processing of these supplements runs counter to many of my beliefs about food. I try to get the cleanest versions possible. I just find it almost impossible to eat enough to hit my macro target and stay in my calorie range. What are your thoughts on protein supplementation hitting the 1 gram per pound of body weight rule, etc.?
It's kind of cool that we hear like they could have been just a 1 sentence question. What is your take on? But we get this understanding of who these people are, which I appreciate. Like
I do
Ryan
too.
sounds like one of us. Like, yeah, fitter than your average soccer dad, but maybe not as fit as the guys that are the hard chargers in the gym, but give up alcohol to lose the extra 15 pounds and looking to, I've tried macros, and that sounds like one of us. I dig it. So, okay, let's start with the very simple question, which he finished off with. What is my take on the 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight? If you're looking to gain, you're a hard gainer, meaning it's hard for you to gain muscle, or you're training a lot, that 1 pound might be appropriate. That's not where I start people though. And I wouldn't start Ryan there either, especially if you're trying to limit supplementation. So Ryan is 180 pounds. He's trying to get 180 grams of protein in. That's a huge amount. No wonder. I would start off at 0.7. That's where most people start off. So 0.7 for every pound of body weight gets him closer to about 125 grams. That's a huge difference.
Massive.
So if we think of a meal having 30 grams of protein. It could have more. It could have 40 or 50. But generally, we're shooting for meals to have about 30 grams of protein. That is 1 scoop of protein powder, or it is the size of your palm a deck of cards of fish, beef, chicken, 4 eggs, that type of thing. So it's a really normal size of protein. If we're trying to limit protein intake but get to that 0.7, it's really simple for Ryan. You eat 3 meals a day of real foods, 4 eggs in the morning, a chicken breast on a salad, and a small piece of meat, whatever that is, at night. That's not even including the beans and the veggies, which is going to have another 10 to 20 grams total throughout the day. You're going to really easily get to 90 to 100. And then I would go one protein shake, gets you to north of 125, 130. Very easy. I choose protein shake over protein bars because shakes don't require all of the stabilizers and all the fillers and all the things that require shelf life that a powder does. A powder, a clean one, is essentially going to have the whey itself. Look for isolate or hydrolysate over concentrates. Big blanket statement, but we can dive into that if we want to later. And then from there, it's probably going to have from the other stuff some soy lecithin, which is like a binder a little bit, some monk fruit or stevia extract if it's a good clean one. Don't go for the ones that have like cookie pieces in them. That's kind of crazy, which is crazy. There's so many of those. And it's like we had a guy that had a hard time losing the stubborn 15 pounds, and he was doing one of those shakes with cookie pieces in it. I was like, well, why don't we just try to switch from that to this cleaner version? And it was like, oh, and it came like right off in 3 weeks. I was like, yeah, because you're not having 3 cookies for breakfast every morning. So, that's kind of the way I would go with it. It's like 3 square meals and a shake. And yes, stay away from the bars because bars do have the extra stuff. Now let's go the other way. No, I'm a hard gainer. I want to do this. Yeah, it's really, really, really hard to have 6 meals of 30 grams. The way I would do that is try to double protein at every meal because you're not getting, and that's the way I would get there, is not by having additional bars and so on.
All right, last one we've got is in our recover bucket. It's from Steven. He says, I've been doing CrossFit for 12 years and typically go 5 to 6 times a week. I also do daily mobility. I often travel for work, which can involve 6 hours of driving or alternatively 25-hour flight days. I don't know what that means. 25-hour flight days.
25-hour flights.
Let's just assume that it's a lot of flying.
He's gone. He commutes to like a mile from his house, but he goes all the way around the world to get there. He goes the other way.
Okay, so outside of that, this is the rest of his question. I've noticed that my normal mobility routines, he uses pliability, also known as, or used to be known as ROMWOD, and it doesn't prepare me for the next day's workout after a long travel day. Doesn't matter if it's a Metcon or a strength type of workout. I always find doing them after a travel day very difficult physically, though mentally still rewarding. Any suggestions on how to recover from a long travel day so that the next morning or the next day I can enjoy my workouts to the fullest?
Okay. Just help me out with that. He said that he doesn't find the ROMWOD pliability, that mobility protocol as effective. He finds it rewarding. That's what he's saying about effective?
No, I think the workout. The workout. Yeah. So he's still doing the mobility work. It's just for whatever reason after the travel day, whatever he normally does doesn't seem to prepare him for the workout.
Yeah. Nope. That's what it's going to be. But
yeah,
honestly, It's like, that's the thing. It's like, I got sick for, 5 days and my next workout coming back from being sick wasn't as good as my normal workouts. What should I do? Accept reality. That's the deal. You're going to be traveling for 25 hours. The next workout's not going to be great. What you're doing is exactly what you should be doing. Try to restore range of motion. Try to get some blood flow. The one suggestion I would give is allow yourself a bigger warm-up before that. The other one is maybe it's not the most so obvious answer, but pay attention to all the 5 factors. That's really the big one. So get as great a sleep as you can. Get moving. Otherwise, that would be the train thing. Get moving. Make sure you're as low stress as possible through all the other stuff. Eat really clean. But the big thing is it's the deal, man. If you're gonna be 6 hours in the car, there's no magic pills we're gonna take. There's no magic protocol that we can do to get better at that. But paying attention to the other factors help. And we have things for that when we change time zones in terms of the way we adjust to sleeps. And we've had things on that. We've had shift workers for weird stuff. So there are suggestions, there are protocols, But honestly, the biggest one for this one for Steven would be just like accept that that first day and a half, 2 are going to be kind of junky. It's the part of the process.
Yeah. I also think about some of the things we've talked about before just with yourself, which is like some days you show up and, okay, the workout on the whiteboard is this, and this. Right. And for whatever reason, like that's not, but I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this instead of that. I'm going to take the first 2 rounds slow, whatever it might be.
That's a great call. Maybe that's the thing.
Just take the win of being there, checking that box of consistency and knowing that tomorrow I'm going to feel more like myself.
That's the right suggestion, Patrick, which is, that first day back from the gym shouldn't be a workout. That first day back from the gym, you should go to the gym, participate, but it's your active build back recovery day. So what is the way to get back? It's to get back 24 hours later than you've been doing and use that first one as a day to just move. That's such the right suggestion.
Love that. All right. I just want to do a quick call out because I just noticed it as I was reading those. Antoine training for 8 years, 5 times a week. Ryan, 6 years, 5 to 6 times a week. Steven, 12 years, 5 to 6 times a week. So I love it. I love it.
Amazing, right?
Yeah. So cool.
Super cool.
Thank you for all your questions. If you would like to get one into the queue, the best way, the fastest way, the most efficient way, go to www.chasingexcellence.email, get on the newsletter list. We'll send you a link with a form and you can submit a question. We thank you in advance. All right, we'll be back with our workout in just a moment. But first, a quick word of thanks from a few sponsors. We're brought to you this week by Element. You're into health, you're into fitness, and you're likely into staying hydrated without the sugar, which means you ought to know about Element. Head to drinkelement.com/excellence to learn more about the zero sugar electrolyte drink mix that's perfect for athletes, folks on keto or paleo diets, or anyone wanting to restore health through hydration. But don't just take my word for it. Check out their website for rave reviews from professional athletes like Tia Claire Toomey and Bradley Beal, members of U.S. Olympic teams, as well as top business leaders and everyday health enthusiasts. Lots of people are currently loving Element's new hot chocolate medley, a mix of chocolate mint, chocolate chai, and chocolate raspberry flavors. They're the perfect cozy drinks for winter. And of course, like all of Element's flavors, they're tasty as all heck. Visit drinkelement.com/excellence to receive a free Element sample pack with any order. That is a special offer just for listeners of the show. And remember, Element has a no questions asked refund policy. So try Element today. Find out how it can elevate your hydration game. drinkelement.com/excellence. We're also brought to you this week by Cozy Earth. Let Cozy Earth help enhance your well-being both inside and outside your home. Head to CozyEarth.com and use the code excellence to get 35% off everything site-wide. Cozy Earth, a brand featured on Oprah's Favorite Things for 5 years in a row, offers a wide range of loungewear, pajamas, accessories, bedding, and more. All of it is designed to bring comfort to you and your loved ones. Their loungewear, crafted from breathable and luxurious materials like viscose from bamboo and 100% mulberry silk, offers optimal temperature-regulating comfort while maintaining a stylish and elegant fit. And their bedding is made from responsibly sourced 100% viscose from bamboo, which helps keep you cool all night long. Plus, all of their products come with a 10-year warranty. This Valentine's Day, whether it's for your partner, your friends, or you're just treating yourself, Cozy Earth gifts are perfect for showing a little extra love. So elevate your post-bath experience with their premium bath products or double down on comfort with their loungewear. To get you started, Cozy Earth has offered an exclusive offer just for you. Simply use the code EXCELLENCE to get 35% off site-wide. Remember, that's the code EXCELLENCE for 35% off at CozyEarth.com.
35%. Valentine's Day, guys.
Valentine's Day, there it is. Solved it.
Ryan, Steve, Antoine, go get it.
That's right.
On your rest day.
All right. Our workout this week is a question from Tracy. And I thought this was great. So here's what she said. Here's what she sent in. She said, what are your thoughts on quote unquote resetting your own PRs? For example, resetting PRs after becoming a parent, resetting in a new decade of life, etc. With the concept of PR meaning personal record, you are competing against yourself, but our lives change. As Heraclitus, she just threw in a Greek philosopher. As Heraclitus, I don't know, maybe I'm getting that right, said, no one ever steps in the same river twice. No one ever steps in the same river twice, for it's not the same river and they're not the same person. It's not realistic for my 39-year-old self as a working mother to compare to my 17-year-old self. No intention of running a 5:25 mile again. After having my son, I further clarified my PRs so that I would now have quote unquote pre-baby PRs and post-baby PRs. It was the motivation I needed to be able to start tracking progress again and not let comparison, even with myself, get in the way. Now that I'm turning 40, I plan on having a new set of PRs in my 40s, and onwards. Thoughts on this?
Yeah.
I've got some follow-ups, but I'd love your thoughts. I've never really thought about this resetting of PRs.
I mean, yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. So, I mean, it just makes total sense, right? So there's a bigger discussion about PRs in general. Like they
I'd love to have
fit
that.
into, so like there's that. And then there's this idea of, if we're going to compete against ourselves, it makes no sense to compete against ourselves 20 years past our athletic prime. So in her case, a 5:25 mile is bonkers. And if you're now in your 40s and post 2 kids and a career and you're not the Division I athlete that you once were, like that's insane. Like every single day is going to be a losing battle of that I'm not as good as I once was, but I'm as good as Toby Keith song that I don't know the words to.
I don't even know that one.
Yeah. Really? Oh,
I don't think so.
Okay.
Maybe I do.
So, the principle of that is I think it's phenomenal. I do this I haven't done it as definitively as she has in terms of like, here is the new leaping off point from here forward. But I like that. I've used that kind of loosely. I had maybe I have actually, because I've had back surgery I had back surgery in 2013, 2014. I had back surgery in 2014, so that was a long recovery coming out of that. So I've kind of used that as my pre and post. Before that, I was competing at the CrossFit Games on a team and had all sorts of different numbers and performance-wise than I do now. So we just did Fran. Yes, this makes a good point. We just did Fran yesterday at the gym. So anybody that follows Comp Train, it's coming. We do it a month ahead of you guys. And actually, by the time this gets out, you're probably doing Fran next week. Sorry to wreck your week.
It'll be close. I don't know exactly when, but it'll be close.
Okay, so my personal best Fran time is 2:22. Yesterday, I did it in 6:16. I did it with strict pull-ups because that's what I do now. So it's like there's no set. Like if I try to go that fast now, first off, I couldn't, and if I tried to, I'd explode. I wouldn't finish the workout. I get some sort of like something. So not only do I have like new performance metrics, I have new ways of training. Like I don't even do kipping pull-ups that much anymore. So it's like I have new things with like the same workout but with strict pull-ups. So I think it makes a lot of sense for this reset. And we know this empirically. Like we don't have the 40 to 45-year-olds competing with 19 to 24-year-olds at the CrossFit Games. Like there's a division for you because capacity is different at that age. So I think that she's spot on. I also like the realization that this is the period I'm in, but I plan on resetting again going forward. I think that all makes a lot of sense, and having said that, there is this other part of like where do PRs live in general in your training, and I think that you can this would probably fly in the face of what I would have said 10 or 15 years ago. I think that you can do exactly what we need to do by loosely tracking performance, not dial. So you have to me, if you want to get close in the neighborhood, you have to have some understanding. And this would be the same thing as, like EC's lazy macros. Like you don't necessarily need to weigh and measure every single thing every single time you eat, but it's very nice to have an understanding of, am I in the ballpark? And an understanding of both, am I in my own performance ballpark and relative to the cohorts around me? So The example of this be like if you were the only human being that ever lived and you went out jogging once a year, you would probably think that the top capacity for an athlete would be like a 6.5-minute mile. Like no one could possibly, because you run an 11-minute mile or a 12-minute mile, you're probably like, well, if someone ran twice as fast as me, that might be the top end of human capacity. So it's nice to just have an understanding of where your abilities lie so that you can figure out strengths and weaknesses and understand where your opportunities are. Because if you, like the listener, have a 5:25 mile, but your back squat is 65 pounds, well, now you have a good understanding of maybe where you can put a little extra emphasis into. You have great aerobic capacity, but you could build a little bit more strength. So I think it's really cool to have a understanding. I think that the people that listening to this show that train 5 or 6 days a week, like with these people that have already said this, probably already have that, even without writing it down. You have a good understanding of where you are. And I think that that's meaningful enough to move you in the right direction and have enough awareness to create the right, this is awareness, intention, action, but enough awareness to create the intentional processes to take the action to get to where you not want to be, which is, zooming out, health. Well, what is health? Well-rounded fitness across your age. Like, I'm going to say it again, well-rounded fitness across your age. And this is where it's important to understand if you're a guy and you have a 550-pound back squat but a 13-minute mile, that's not well-rounded health. Is it better than having a 13-minute mile and a 45-pound back squat? Of course, right? That's way better, but there's still so much room for someone in that camp to have the fitness that produces health. And that's really what we're doing, big picture, so that we have the capacity, we have the energy, we have the vitality to pour into other people. And that's really what we want to be able to do.
When you were lining up for Fran, was there a part of you that was like, okay, my PR is 222, and like the logic part of you not stepping in and saying, yeah, but like, and you thought, okay, like if I get close to that, I'll be happy. And if I don't, I'll be unhappy. Or are you at the place now where you're like, you can intellectually say like, yeah, 10 years ago, I did 222, couldn't care less about that right now as I line up to do it today.
Yeah. I'm so far removed from it that like other people in the gym, and we had lighter classes than we normally do because it's scary and all that stuff.
Yeah.
There was less nerves for that workout because it was like doing it again for the first time. Like it's just so far removed, and it's like, to me, it does not matter. Like, this is what Tracy's saying is like, I want this kind of like ability to measure, but not to the point it becomes detrimental. Well, that level of awareness is humongous. Like when you realize it's detrimental, you've recognized a trigger. And that trigger is not benefiting you because it's sending you down the sewer cycle where you're having this subconscious thought pattern, which is leading to an emotional response, which is anxiety, fear, doubt, whatever it might be, that's causing a physiological response, which is going to diminish your performance. If it doesn't diminish your performance and you're unable to get out of that, then it actually leads to sickness. Like, holy smokes, this is a big, big thing. This is something that we don't want to just kind of like brush across the side. We want to recognize that if we can't go into the gym and do a workout with our friends without feeling high levels of anxiety, that's an opportunity for us to move through some stuff. When you feel your shit getting hit, when you feel your stomach, when you feel your chest getting tight, when you feel your nerves going, we need that level of awareness. Like, this is not normal. Like, I'm getting pulled out of my rest and digest. It's okay to have that a little bit before a workout because all that means is it matters. It's not okay to have that the night before the workout and lose sleep over it. That's anxiety. That's you unable to work through some stuff. Not a bad thing. We all have that. It's the awareness of it. Do we have the awareness that I'm having a hard time sleeping tonight because I'm worried about my workout tomorrow? What's happening is You're not staying present. You're not focusing on things that you can control. Your mind is spinning out of control, causing this sewer cycle loop. You want to be able to reframe, walk through that, recognize the triggers. And if you can't walk through it, okay, fine. But at least we've recognized that it's happening. That's such a huge thing. It's like the alcoholic just mindlessly going for the next drink instead of going like, whoa, what am I doing right now? I know this isn't good for me. I know that I'm not supposed to do this. Once you get to that point where it's like this awareness of like, this is hard. It's hard for me to say no right now. That's you working through it. That's the training. You're now no longer unconscious. You are a conscious being that's having a hard time making a better decision. But at least you recognize that there's a decision that could be made and you're not on autopilot. This is where, if you are in that boat, where PRs no longer serve you. PRs can serve you in a big, big way. They can create awareness of strengths and weaknesses, as we just talked about. They can create opportunities for intentional game plans. They can help you motivate. They can help you stay on track. They can help create sub-goals that keep you dialed into the process. But we have to recognize when those things are no longer serving us, when they're causing stress and anxiety. If we can do that, man, like that's so much more important in the big scheme of things than were you 30 seconds off of your PR. Mm-hmm. Like the big picture, vitality, longevity, energy, you as a fulfilled human being living a well-rounded life, whether you're 30 seconds or a minute off of your Fran time, has almost no bearing. Mm-hmm. As long as you are, what does have a huge bearing is you unable to work through the stuff that's hitting you. And this is where we want to have that level of recognition that this is something that I'm having a hard time working through. Because what are you actually doing? You're going to the gym to try to get a physiological, emotional, spiritual, if you want to, response to make you better. Well, if you're having this stress response, that's not making you better. That's causing a stress response. And that doesn't have its place in this process. If you feel a little bit nervous walking up to the barbell before you start, that's okay. That's fine. That's supposed to be there. That's the equivalent of like little bit of butterflies before you walk onto the TED stage. Okay, that's cool. This means something. But you having stress 3 months before that, not helpful.
Mm-hmm. And I think about something you said sort of quickly, but I think it's important to bring back, which is that classes weren't that busy today or yesterday, whenever you did Fran, right? And so I think about, how many of those people, how many of the members at CrossFit New England looked at that and said, well, I'm not going to PR, so I'm not going to go.
Right.
Because really what I think about here, and it's really interesting, and I think there's a couple of different ways we can look at this, but like when you really break down what a PR is, it's an opportunity for us to judge ourselves today versus either an idealized or a future version of ourselves or the past version of ourselves. And so we only look at PRs like that as a light switch of judgment of like better than yesterday or worse than yesterday. Then PRs can become something that we really want to avoid finding out, because we don't want to find out if we're fitter than we were 2 years ago or 5 years ago or who knows, however many. And so that's also really interesting to me to think about is the downsides of PRs in that we substitute PRs for judging ourselves with the upside of PRs, which is a measurement us against us to see if we're making the progress that we are there to make.
Yep. Yeah, there's exactly. So we have this approach to health, and what you just said really drilled this into for me. We have this approach to health. That approach is how you eat, sleep, train, think, and connect. It is the 5 behaviors that we want to lean into to maximize our health. What we are saying is those are 5 slices of a pie, not one comes before the other. Yes, if you've listened long enough, we kind of like the training one first, but each one of those has a first principle. And if you are working on a second principle before a first principle of another one, we are not following the prescription. That first principle prescription is for eat, sleep, train, think, and connect. We want to eat, real food. That's what we want to do first. For train, it's show up 5 or 6 days a week. So if you're, now I'm going to go through them all because I'm going to come back to why if people don't show up to Fran, what's happening. The next is sleep 8 hours. The think one, this is really big, is be curious, not judgmental.
Love that.
Yep. And connect is surround yourself with people that want to see you win, that challenge you, call you on your crap, but no drama, no toxicity, no complaining, just good vibes and growth. Okay. So the two big ones there are train 5 or 6 days a week and be curious, not judgmental. So why did you not show up to Fran today? Like what was the reason there? Because I didn't think, well, think. No, the think one is curious. Like it doesn't matter if you PR or not. Because what's happening there is it's like if people understood, I really want to do something big and meaningful with those 5 factors. I want beyond this podcast because that to me is the most simplistic approach to health in 5 sentences that has ever been handed out anywhere. Like if you just really leaned into those things and understood when you were deviating away from any of them, which you're allowed to, like I get it, like eat real food. I don't eat perfect. I don't sleep 8 hours every night. There's weeks that I don't get to the gym 5 days or 6 days. Like it's okay. No one's perfect. But if we were able to put those first principles first, like whether it's Fran or a 10-mile run or your favorite workouts, it shouldn't affect. It should not affect whether you go to the gym or not. Like that's a big, big thing. It should not affect whether you go to the gym or not, what the workout is. Because if it does, you're not being, as long as you believe, I'm going to caveat this, as long as you believe in the programming that is being done in your gym and affiliate, which I write the program for mine. So I obviously do, right?
Yep.
And I spent a lot of time, I spent 17 years honing in this methodology, which I really believe in, which I think we talked about earlier in this podcast, which is lift heavy the 3 times a week. Those are coupled with the shorter, higher power Metcons and the 8 to 15 minute range. The other one should hit a 15 to 20 and 25. Maybe there's one long cardio day in there built in for you, depending on the athlete. That is our Sunday run day. It's like, it's very systemized at this point. Like, because I just feel like the variance for variance sake is not helping get to where we want to be, which is this well-rounded fitness program. If you have a bias towards something, I get that. You like it. Like you like doing 30-minute boot camp workouts every day. I got it. I understand that. My contention is this protocol, this programming philosophy is the way to get you to the well-rounded. I don't believe that we're missing or skipping or leaning into biasing anything excessively. I believe that we are getting truly the full holistic picture of what we want to do, which is improve performance that improves performance outside the gym, not for today, but for the rest of our lives.
Let's start to wrap this conversation up. Maybe and go back to Tracy's question a little bit. Do you have a sense of, I mean, kids are an obvious demarcation of, before and after, where life does change. Training does change as a result of it. But do you get a sense of like every 10 years you should pick your head up and say, okay, let's kind of press the button and reset our PRs and then reestablish them and then spend the next 10 years kind of living with those as to your point, as sort of the guideposts and the that we want to look at? Or is it every 5 years? Is it total? I mean, of course it's going to depend, but like if you were to give a prescription of like, yes, this is roughly when I would suggest thinking or rethinking your PRs.
I don't think you need to reset before the age of 35. I think you have up until the age of 35 of growth and betterment. At the age of 35, the really dialed in version would be, I think that CrossFit HQ nailed this really well. Every 5 years you would reset. The other way to
when
think
you say
about
CrossFit, that's where the age groups are.
That's where the sport is. Yep. Cool. When they go into the Masters division every 5 years after 35. The other kind of like paradigm or perspective to kind of pull into this, I don't want to say like decrepitude is inevitable, but because I don't want to say it doesn't mean it's not true. It is. Like we're all going to like, said another way is what we're actually trying to do is not to continue to PR. That's not the objective. The objective is if you have a really solid training history through your teens, 20s, and 30s, meaning that you've trained 5 or 6 days a week, this way for 3 decades by the time you get to your 40s, for you to assume that you're going to continue that trajectory is not realistic. It's not the way it's going to go. And that shouldn't be the perspective that I want to continue to see gains. Because what we want to do is imagine at age 45, you're just able to hold. At age 45, you don't decline at all. You would be the fittest 85-year-old that has ever lived on planet Earth by like a gazillion. Like let's say like me, a 45-year-old, I'm 46 now, turning 47 in a month or so. And, I run like just really average numbers, back squat 300 pounds, run 6-minute miles, do 15, 20 strict pull-ups. Like, okay, like if I was 85 and doing that, like they'd be writing books about me forever about like this human that defied everything. So the goal is just try to like, it's to recognize that it's the realist thing. There's the victim, the pessimist, the optimist, the realist, and the warrior. So here's the way the pessimist looked. The victim goes like, why am I not being able to PR? Why am I declining? Why can't I? Oh my God. The pessimist is, oh, this sucks. I'm never going to PR again. This is like, it sounds insane, right? The optimist is equally as insane. We're just like, I'm going to continue to PR. I'm going to continue to like make gains in my 50s, 60s, 70s, and 80s. Like we start to realize the asinine storytelling that comes along with any one of those mindsets. The realist goes, I'm going to decline. I'm going to try to slow my decline. Cool. The warrior goes, I know that this is inevitable. Cool. Bring it on. I can work through this. Fran? Yep. I'm going to walk into Fran, do Fran without getting my panties in a bunch. Like that's the approach. Like that's where we want everyone to get to, is where we're not rattled by external circumstances. Like, what is this workout? Did I PR or not? Can we just put our heads down, follow the process, and come out of it the better side without the extra storytelling, gossip, drama, toxicity that we create for ourselves?
Fantastic. All right, we're going to wrap it up there. Thank you to Tracy for that great question. Hopefully that was helpful. We're going to jump into a shout out, a different kind of shout out, and a cool down momentarily. But first, a quick word of thanks to a sponsor brought to you this week by Momentus. It's time to give your sleep routine an upgrade, and you can do so with Momentus Sleep. Learn more at livemomentus.com. Use the code excellence to get started with 20% off your first order. This magical blend of magnesium, L-threonate, apigenin, and L-theanine will help you fall asleep faster, stay asleep longer, and wake up fully recharged. These natural ingredients promote relaxation, calm your mind, and ensure a restful state. Plus, rest assured, you can trust Momentus Sleep has no banned substances and no harmful contaminants. It's certified by Informed Sport and NSF, so you know that what you see on the label is exactly what you get. And the best part, comes with an easy-to-use individual pack. So grab a packet and be on your way to the greatest night of rest. Visit livemomentus.com. Use the code excellence to upgrade your sleep with 20% off their best-in-class products, whether you're grabbing their sleep packs, protein powder, creatine, or anything else that they offer. Again, livemomentus.com. Okay, we got a shout out from Tracy, and she says it right up front, more of a comment and opportunity for growth than a question. Yeah, you know what? Good call. Good memory. Tracy's. Yes, two Tracys. Quite sure that they're different Tracys because there was no mention of, there were no mention of, hey, I just asked a question and also this. So I'm going to go with two different Tracys. This is the episode of Tracy. She says more of a comment and opportunity for growth than a question. Just listened to the latest episode on the state of CrossFit affiliates. So that was probably last month now. And notice that Ben used the phrase grandfathered in. To others, correcting a podcaster may feel one-uppish, but as I've been a listener to Chasing Excellence for 7 years, I know you and Ben appreciate opportunities for growth. The phrase grandfathered in is rooted in racism, suppressing the black voter, and unjustly favoring white voters. Literacy tests, poll taxes, and quizzes were required for voting in an attempt to exempt black voters. Therefore, states enacted clauses that made men eligible to vote even if they couldn't pass the literacy tests if they were lineal descendants of voters. In other words, their fathers or grandfathers, which only pertained to white men at the time. Once I learned about this, I made sure to correct myself if I ever said it, and in this situation to provoke a discussion or comment with those of a growth mindset. And she forwarded on an article from NPR that she nicely summarized. So again, not a typical shout out, but I like when people send me these things because quite frankly, I had no idea, and I've used that phrase 100 times, and so. If I didn't know about it, and clearly Ben, you and I have not, we didn't hear about it. So we're gonna pass this on with a thanks to Tracy for giving us a little bit of insight into that, and I will not use that anymore. All right, our cool down, as we've done once a month or so, moment of joy, something that's bringing us joy. I love this. It makes me think for 15 minutes before we record about what I've been enjoying, and that has been bringing me joy. You want me to go first?
Go for it.
Since you've been doing lots of talking. Okay, something that's been giving me joy as of late. I have found, I used to be really talking about pre-kids and after kids. I used to be really into music and independent music and singers and songwriters. And when we lived in Boston, I'd go to shows as often as I can. And that's sort of faded, and I've sort of lost that bit of me. Not intentionally, but because life happens. And so the thing that's been bringing me joy, and I didn't really do this on purpose, but I noticed it last night as I was doing it. And I was like, I've been doing this more, and it's because it's bringing me joy, which is on Instagram, instead of just mindlessly scrolling, what I've started to do is find and follow. They're always just like young singer-songwriters, like young musicians who are just like, they're just so talented and so hardworking, and they're just amazing to me. And so it's just been bringing me so much joy to just like find a new musician and just like spend 15 or 20 minutes scrolling through what they've been putting online, and then searching, finding them on Spotify or finding them wherever, and just enjoying new music and good music and young people and everything that they're bringing. So that's been bringing me a lot of joy. It's for like 15 or 20 minutes at night. Instead of mindlessly scrolling social media, I'll just go listen to some cool music.
Is it specifically like singer-songwriters? Or is it musicians in general?
It tends for me, just because of my own, it tends to be just like singer-songwriters. But really, it's really just like it's the wonders and the detriment of all the algorithms is once you teach it, like, oh, I like this thing, they'll just start giving you more, which again, can be good, can be bad, can be however you use it. But for me in this particular case, it's been really fun to just sort of like go into the rabbit hole of different singers and have some fun with them. Yeah.
I am, musicians like melt my mind because it's so outside of my, I don't get it at all.
Yep.
I've tried to play instruments, and I am so, I don't want to say untalented because like you can teach talent, but just like it's just not.
Yep.
If there's a gene for it, I didn't get it. So I am equally fascinated by that as well. And more in my feed, that's really interesting you say that, has been popping up there. I think particularly because my 19-year-old is a musician and I send him a lot of stuff. So when you send something to somebody, he's in a band, and we send something to somebody, the algorithm loves that, especially if you're not on it a that you send one thing, it's like, oh, this is the, there's this one drummer.
This will make you bring you back.
Have you seen this drummer that they're calling like, it's like the best drummer ever? Have you seen this guy? He's kind of jacked. He's got a beard.
Do you remember his name?
I don't. I'm going to send it to you. And it's
okay. Cool. Send it to me.
This for the show, like the podcast. Yeah. Everyone's like, "What are you talking about? This isn't very helpful." But for you, I will send it to you because it's. Cool. He's incredible. It blows my mind. Yeah. Because but I'm with you. I think that's really cool. Yeah.
Yeah. And I just watch and I just think about like when we were younger, like all these again, they're all kids, but the talent was there. And the hard work was there, and the ingenuity was there, and the creativity was there. There just wasn't like this phone that we had
platform
that they can. Yeah, exactly. And like I just think about all the talented musicians who had such love for it, and then they just didn't have anywhere to go with it. They just couldn't do anything with it that is now possible. And it's just like,
Right.
that's what a wonderful opportunity for those folks who can do it.
It's such a so Jonah, his band, recorded one of their practice sessions the other day, posted it, and a photographer reached out and was like, "Hey, can I work with you guys?" It's like
Awesome.
like just that
Yep.
that organic collaboration. There is positives to this network that we bash all the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
All right, what you got?
We're in winter and we started skiing again, so it's such an easy answer for me.
Yep. I thought about that. Yeah. I figured that
Skiing's a phenomenal. It's one of those things. It's so cool because Bodie is my 11-year-old, and I was riding up the lift with him, and he asked, "What do you like better, CrossFit or skiing?" And I said, "Skiing. How about you?" And he's paused because he liked CrossFit a lot right now. He's into the getting stronger, and he can do a bunch of pull-ups, and he's deadlifting over his body. It's really cool. So, and he said skiing as well. And he goes, what's really kind of crazy about those two things, Dad, is when you're doing them, what was the words he used? I want to make sure. He goes, you know how you don't know what time it is when you're doing them? And I was like, yeah. I was like, you know what that is? That's what they say is like, time flies when you're having fun. He goes, yeah, I think that's what's happening. And then we got in this discussion about what a flow state is and how you lose sense of time when you're doing these things that you're really passionate about. And he's like, oh yeah, that's like, but it's very much that for me with skiing. And it's such a different experience for me doing it with my kids. Cause it used to be like the adrenaline thing, like going fast, the G forces, being in the air, having trees whip by you and all the rest. And, that risk thing, like it spikes epinephrine and all the rest. We had Stephen Kotler on that talked about that a lot with NAR Country. But now it's like I get little bits of that, maybe a couple times a day. It's not like the entirety of the day anymore, but it's way more the connection thing and being outside in nature. The outside nature thing it wasn't even a thing I paid attention to before. And
that's
now
where the skiing was.
That's just where the skiing was. And now I'm like, because I track how many days a week I go outside. Of course, people have listened to this for a lot. Like I track a lot of stuff.
Yep.
And during the winter, it's horrifically bad. Like I don't count like walking to my car, but because the winter, I walk my kid to the bus stop. I don't count that. Walk back. I get in my car. I drive to work, and I'm at work until I drive home. And when I get home, I'm at home, and I don't leave that. That is such a weird human experience to not go outside for days upon end. And then what skiing does for people living in the Northeast like us, it allows you this 2 or 3 days a week of, almost all of the day is outside. And that's, as a person in their, mid 40s, it's weird how you just, it's so enjoyable regardless of the weather, unless it's raining. I don't ski in the rain, but cold or anything else, it doesn't really bother me anymore because you're feeling it. We go and take breaks, but it's kind of a cool experience to be cold. It's like, everything about it, from the family time to the outside, to the adrenaline, to the it's such a cool, amazing experience. Anybody that's listening to this that has young kids and is wondering what they should get their kids into, I cannot praise it enough that I can't come up with another experience that you get to spend as much time with your family outside, side by side, as you do with skiing. I just can't come up with it. I can't find something that's even remotely similar. That, I guess if families hiked, but that seems kind of boring. Like, and it's hard to do it in the winter. True. Like, if you're winter campers, I guess that would be it. But it's like, it's a really amazing thing. Yes, it's expensive, but there is cheaper ways to do it. And I love it. So lots of joy.
All right. Noted on that. one thing it makes me think of, and I haven't had a chance to look into it yet, but a listener sent us a question about, I think it's called 1,000, the 1,000 hours challenge. I don't know any background of this other than the little bit in the question that he or she sent us. But my sense of it is like, track the amount of hours you are outside with the goal of hitting 1,000 hours over the course of a year. I don't know if that's exactly it. I don't know if that's
so that'd be about
like,
well, there's 365. So that'd be about 3 hours a day. There, give or take 3 hours a day.
So it makes me think of that a little bit.
So it makes you like, you hear that, you go like, of course I'd be outside 3 hours a day. Like if you live in the Northern Hemisphere, where like, that's probably a challenge. Like,
yeah.
Or said another way is if you work 9 to 5. If you work 9 to 5, you're probably not getting outside a lot at all during the week. And then you have, 8 hours a day on Saturday and Sunday. Well, that's only 16 a week. You're not there. You're missing 5 hours a week. You're way behind the 8 ball. That's cool. I like that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like when you heard like Kelly Starrett's, like how many hours you sit a day.
Exactly.
And you hear it, you're like, I would never sit for 13 hours. Yeah. No way. It's like you start to add up. You're like, oh, damn it. Oh no.
And then it's like everything else though. It's like, okay, track your steps over the course of 30 days or whatever we did. And it's like, oh, I
watched 10,000 walk. Yeah.
And then you're like, oh no. And then it's the same as like, track your, I think about EC, track how many grams of fruits and vegetables. Oh, I get lots of fruit and vegetables. And you track it. It's like, oh, that's not good.
Right. That's really cool. And I think it's, don't do it forever, but that understanding, right, of where's the balance in your life and how far away from where you think you should be. That's cool. 1,000 hours outside. Man, my 20-year-old self would be punching me in the face right now for even like, you're not outside for that 3 hours a day? That's crazy.
All right, maybe I'll find that question. Maybe we'll resurface it in a future episode. We can talk a little bit more about it. All right, my friend. Thank you. That was awesome. Thank you, everybody, for sending us questions one more time. www.chasingexcellence.email. Get on the list. We'll send you a link to a form. You can ask your own, and we can get it into a future episode. We thank you in advance for doing so. We thank you for listening, for sharing the show with your friends. Ben and I will be back next week for another episode of Chasing Excellence.